Hello everyone and welcome to St. Andrew's Institute of Technology and Management, Gurgaon, Delhi NCR. St. Andrew's Institute of Technology and Management is the finest college in the entire northern India, and it is the most and fastest developing college of the country. It offers you a variety of courses to choose from, like BTech into various fields, BBA, BCA, and they are very soon starting up with MBA, Architecture, and Law. This college has very good infrastructures. The education quality is very nice. They lay so much stress on placement that students, they provide 100% job placement and assistance to students. Students are taken care of very well. It is one of the finest career choice that you will be making for yourself. The subject we discuss in here in this video is Principles of Software Engineering. This is a CSE 30. This is a CSE 6 semester subject and the code is CSE 302F. Now this code and this syllabus is in correspondence to MDU University, Rohtak. This is lecture number 3 from unit number 4, covering the topic formal technical reviews that consist of review meetings, review reporting, record keeping and review guidelines. I, Shalini from CSE department, will take you forward in the video. Okay, formal technical review or FTR. FTR is a software quality control activity that is performed by software engineers and others like. What are the objectives of an FTR? So now you came to know that it is a quality control activity. That is, you are keeping a check onto your quality of the software, right? So it has to have some various objectives, and these objectives, whatever will be these objectives, they will all be covering the software quality part. So the very first objective is, it is useful to uncover error in logic, functional and implementation for any representation of the software. So what you do in a formal technical review, you are actually kind of finding all the errors that occurs in the logic, in the function and the implementation part. Then the purpose is to ensure that software meets specified requirements. So what are the specified requirements? The one that was specified in the SRS, right? That we did into the STLC model, the requirement phase, right? So the purpose will be that you are kind of following or adhering to all these specified requirements. It also ensures that software is represented according to predefined standards. So these standards will also predefined initially, so this will be like whenever the customer came with his kind of demand, so you told that we follow this kind of quality standards, right? So whatever quality standards that you promised him, you need to deliver it to him, right? The next is, it helps to review the uniformity in software development process. So you actually try to make the process such that this is very kind of uniformly followed, like what are the guidelines that have, if you you are following any quality control or any quality standard that you're following, so you need to maintain the uniformity also, right? And it makes the project more manageable. So anything which is being followed, which has some certain set of guidelines, is definitely more manageable, right? So these are the 5 objectives in the FTR. Okay, so besides these objectives, the purpose of FTR is to enable junior engineer to observe the analysis, design, coding and testing approach. So what you do, you enable the junior engineer and help him out into analysis, design, coding and testing. This means that throughout the STLC model, you are actually making this work, that how it need to follow these quality kind of standards or this quality kind of report or anything. So this report will be actually adhering you to follow this kind of a structure from the analysis to the testing phase, right? And each FTR is conducted as meeting and is considered successfully only if it is properly planned, controlled and attended, right? Which is very correct. So this will be successful, it performs in the given way. Like, so whatever the procedure the FTR promises and whatever that it has to follow, so you are kind of I would say constraining yourself to that process, which is a must also, because anything has to be developed within a set of discipline and within a set of specifications that it has, right? Okay, so now we have the following steps, like the one we discussed in the first slide, that is the review meeting. Then there is review reporting and record keeping, and last is review guidelines. Okay, then next we started with the review meeting. Each review meeting should be conducted by considering the following constraints. What are the following constraints? That is involvement of people, and how many, like 3 to 5 people should involve in the review. So every time there should be 3 to 5 people who are involving in the review. So in every review meeting there will be these people reviewing this. Then there's advanced preparation. Advanced preparation should occur, but it should be very short. That is at most 2 hours of work for each person can be spent in this preparation, right? So what you do, that it is very short kind of an advanced preparation, and you spend 2 hours of this of each kind of person time is being spent in the preparation, that you prepare it in advance for the meeting at least for 2 hours at whatever that you have to speak in the meeting, right? Then short duration. The short duration of the review meeting should be less than 2 hours. So you need to specify within this time limit that they should not take more than 2 hours. So that is there. That is why it is a review meeting. Okay. Then there are few extra points that you need to have in your mind when you are doing this review meeting. Rather than attempting to review the entire design walkthrough are conducted for modules or for small group of modules, right? So instead of you doing the review of the entire design, what you do, you segregate your models and you do review into the modules, right? The focus of the FTR is on work product, that is a software component to be reviewed. The review meeting is attended by the review leader, that is all reviewers and the producer. So who is attending the review meeting? Review leader, all the reviewers and the producer, right? And the focus is on the work product. So what these kind of people do, the review leader is responsible for evaluating the product for its deadline. So what you are doing is you are evaluating the product for its deadline. The copies of product material is then distributed to reviewers. The producer, what he does, the producer organizes walk through the product, explaining the material, right? While the reviewers raise the issues based on their advanced preparation, right? So you have a leader who will evaluate the deadline, and who will see like what kind of material are being distributed to the reviewer, and the producer is the one who's organizing the walkthroughs of the product, right? Who's explaining the materials and all the stuff, and the reviewers will raise their issue that they have been facing, and the one that they prepared into the 2 hours advanced preparation they did. Okay, now one of the reviewers become recorder, who record all important issues raised during the review. So one will be there who will be noting down everything. When errors are discovered, the recorder notes each. So whenever there is an error that is discovered, you will note down each error. At the end of the review, the attendees decide whether to accept the product or not, with or without modification. So at the end of the deadline, then the attendees tell you that what kind of you accept as a product, and with you have to change it as modification, or it will be taken as it is, right? So this will be the output of it, the meeting. Next we come to review reporting and record keeping. During the FTR, the reviewer actively record all the issues that have been raised. At the end of the meeting, these all raised issues are consolidated and review issue list is prepared, right? So what you do during the FTR, the reviewer will record all issues, and he will see that whatever the issues have been raised, you will be recording it, right? So we did in the meeting part, right? And the end of this, all these issues, they will be collected and a list is prepared. And finally, for formal technical review, summary report is produced. So you produce the final summary of this. Okay, now we have review guidelines. So what comes into the guidelines? See, guidelines for conducting a formal technical review must be established in advance, right? So and guidelines are always in advance, because they guide you how you do the process and how you have to do things from here onward. And these guidelines must be distributed to all reviewers, that is agreed upon and then followed. So you will distribute it to all these guidelines, and then they agree, and then you follow them. See, for an example, the guideline for review may include following things. What are they? Like, concentrate on work product only. That means review the product, not the producers, right? Only the product you have to review. Set an agenda of a review and maintain it. You set an agenda and then you maintain it. When certain issues are raised, then debate or argument should be limited. When you have certain kind of an issues, then you see that what kind of they do not debate or arguments are minimum into those issues, and it should the ultimately result is not to have any hard feelings against anybody. So you should always maintain that kind of an harmonious environment. Find out problem areas but do not attempt to solve each problem note. So you find out the areas but you do not attempt to solve each problem note. You take a written notes and you, if for the purpose of record, like you are taking written notes so that you don't go and then you forget it out. So you actually have to make a record list, and right we did it there na in the previous example. So you have to take written notes from there in order to put into the list and make a summary of it. Next is you limit the number of participants and insist upon advanced preparation. So what you doing here, you actually restricted as to how many number of participants can take place in the meeting and how many have to prepare in advance, because you are not the one who shall, this review meeting should not be at the cost of workforce kind of compensation, or the workforce should not be disturbed. So only a limited participant should be there who should prepare it in advance. Then you develop a checklist for each project that is likely to be reviewed. Then what you do, you're making a checklist and you put a tick on that kind of a checklist wherein you tick on each product which is you are reviewing. You allocate resources and time schedule for FTRs in order to maintain time schedule. What you do, you tick the resources and you allocated them, and along with this you do a time schedule for the FTR, and then you maintain time schedule. So what you did it, you allocated the resources, then you did time scheduling, and then you kind of kept a record of the time scheduling you are keeping it, and the resources also. Okay. Next 9 point is conduct meaningful trainings for all reviewers in order to make review effective. So what you're doing is you're training all the reviewers before actually they can start and taking reviews effectively. So you kind of do a meeting sort of stuff, training sort of stuff, wherein you are actually training them for final collection of the reviews. And then the last point is reviews earlier, reviews which serve as the base for the current review being conducted. So you always keep a track of the past reviews that you taken in, right? Because your past reviews will actually help you in getting reviews in advance, right? So all the 10 guidelines you need to see like how they included. Okay, then in the second point, the report recording, we did like a list is prepared and a summary report is produced. So what it contains is, see, a summary report will have contain answer to these 3 questions. And what are they? Like, what was reviewed, like what are you reviewing, what kind of product are you reviewing, right? Who reviewed it, number of persons who are reviewing it, right? And what were the finding and conclusion, and what did you find in there, right? So there will be 3 areas, that the name of the product that was being reviewed, who were reviewing it, and what were their findings and conclusions of that. So it is a single page form and it becomes part of the project historical record and may be distributed to the project leader and other interested parties. So you keep a record and you put it into your file and you store it somewhere, so it becomes a historical record or an archive kind of stuff, and the project leader keeps it for himself and see that, or whatever the person who were meant to have this, they keep it. The review issues list serves 2 purposes. That is, 1, to identify problem areas within the product. What you do, you identify the problem areas that taken place in the product. And next is to serve as an action item checklist that guides the producer as corrections are made. So what you do, you are serving as an action item checklist that guides the producer as corrections are made. So you already having a checklist, and the checklist acts as a guideline, right? We did it here also, no? Checklist. Develop a checklist for each product to be reviewed. So what this list was doing, so it will have the problem areas and then it will have a checklist. So the checklist will act as a guideline for the producers and he'll make corrections like what issues are this. So an issue list is normally attached to the summary report. So you have a summary report and beyond that you have an issue list, right? So that's all in today's lecture. And the important question that follows are, you briefly, first is briefly describe formal technical review. So you have to give the entire lecture in here. So sometimes short question comes up like write a short note on review meeting, a short note on review reporting, you define record keeping, and write a short on the review guidelines. So we all covered all these topics, right? I hope so. By the end of this video, you can actually answer these questions very well. All the best to you, and thank you so much.